Video coverage of IT Expo is brought to you by Content Boost, the content marketing specialists. Amplify your sales today.
Hi, Eric Lanask here at IT Expo in Miami. On today's program with me are Darren Milet from Adaptrum and Ivan Reed from Amerisys. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
Good morning.
My pleasure.
Darren, let me start with you. As you guys are here, part of our Super Wi-Fi element in the IT Expo program. What's the Super and Wi-Fi all about? What makes it super?
It's a great question. We have been developing this technology over several years to take Wi-Fi to the next level. And what makes Super Wi-Fi super is its ability to use lower frequency spectrum. We're operating in the TV channels below 1 gigahertz. Wi-Fi operates in the 2 to 5 gigahertz range. So we're able to cover greater distances and reach spots where Wi-Fi can't reach. One of the problems you notice when you use Wi-Fi sometimes, if you get too far away from the access point, you can't make the connection. Super Wi-Fi is using clean spectrum in the UHF bands. This is spectrum that's not used. It's just simply sitting there, fallow. And we're able to go far and penetrate trees and walls. And also another important part of Super Wi-Fi is 15 years old as a technology. Super Wi-Fi, the technologies that our companies are bringing to market, are using the latest and greatest technologies. So you're able to do different types of things with Super Wi-Fi.
So Ivan, Darren alluded to sort of an evolutionary path with Super Wi-Fi technology. Talk to me about what that evolution's been like.
Well, the evolution is very similar. Of course, it's going much faster for Super Wi-Fi than it did for Wi-Fi. There was a big education process for the Wi-Fi. People didn't know what it was. There are very similar parts to it. At the beginning, Wi-Fi was thousands of dollars for an access point. We all know what it costs today. I mean, there's no common measure. And we're expecting the same kind of evolution for Super Wi-Fi. But what a difference it'll make to be able to think of doing 20 kilometers instead of 20 meters. Okay? So that will definitely completely make a new dynamic in telecom. Okay? And it'll also offer telecommunicators a nice way to offload the video and all this that they're starting to gradually have a problem with.
Darren, are we in real deployment phase? And who's using it? And what are they doing with it?
Yeah, great question. So we're actually in our second. Adaptrum is in its second generation of product. Meaning the first generation was FCC approved. You know, to use this spectrum there's a set of rules to protect incumbent users like broadcasters and wireless mics. So to actually build technology, it's not easy. It takes time, as Ivan was indicating. So we're actually in our second generation, which means we've come from a prototype to a real commercial, deployable product that can scale to tens and thousands and hundreds of thousands of devices. And the applications, the types of entities that are using this technology, it's fantastic. Anybody can use it, any type of an entity. It could be a wireless service provider. It could be us in this conference area. There's places where there's no Wi-Fi in here. So an entity could come in, or IT Expo could come in and build a Super Wi-Fi network to take capacity from A to B, and you don't need necessarily permission from the FCC to use it. The technology, the databases, everything is in place. So that's really what makes this policy fantastic, and the technology now, we're 5 or 6 years into developing the technology, so it's becoming more mature, and it's only going to get smaller, it's only going to get faster, and it's only going to get cheaper over time.
Darren mentioned, referenced regulations and the FCC a few times. We keep hearing that that there's still a lot to be done with regards to standardization, with regards to regulatory. Tell me where we stand.
There's a lot of standards that are trying to use this. However, the first world standard that came out is 802.22, which very well defined how to do what's called Wi-Fi, so the far-reaching. 802.11 has come out recently with 802.11af, which is the Wi-Fi portion, akin to the good old Wi-Fi we all know, whilst the Wi-Fi is really the super Wi-Fi with the muscle to carry distance and speed and quality. So the Wi-Fi, the real super Wi-Fi, is bringing you the reliability that WiMAX promised, the distance that they promised, but in a band that we can deliver, and with brand new technologies which are cutting edge, like Darren said, really cutting edge, and are making a very significant difference. Okay? So the first tests that were done in the field right now are indicating full speed up to 11 kilometers, which is very, very different. And there, do you see the word super that was coined by, what I understand, the people at the FCC, but they coined the right term. When this really comes out and gets delivered to the masses, it's going to democratize access.
Why is Super Wi-Fi going to succeed where WiMAX didn't?
Basically because we have a band that is better, but at the same time we have a database that WiMAX didn't have. At the same time, we have a technology which is much more advanced, and I don't want to get into all the technical details, but the complexity of the technology is about an eightfold of the WiMAX. And that was required. We were lucky when we wrote the 802.22 standard to have broadcasters amongst us, because they brought us a lot of items that they had hit when they were doing HDTV, the new standard. And we started in 22 from the WiMAX standard, and then started modifying and fixing all the problems that the broadcasters were raising. And we end up being, very gracious to them of giving us all that information of all the problem that it took them 15 years to discover. And they brought it to us. Started in 2004, we're 10 years later. We now have a world-class standard. And now you have a few manufacturers that are putting stuff together.
I think the other point too is, there's only a few spectrum holders that had WiMAX spectrum. Mm-hmm. Now the spectrum is open, so anybody who wants to build infrastructure can go out and build. So your first dollar as an operator goes into building network versus my first dollar goes into licensed spectrum.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Licensed spectrum can be a very big crutch in a business model. And if you don't have access to it, then you can't build. So that's the other big difference, I think, with WiMAX versus
very, very
TV white space and the capability to build this out. And also, this is an emerging global opportunity. Countries around the world are following what the FCC and Industry Canada have done. Ofcom in the UK, ACMA in Australia, and regulators from around the world are really embracing this idea because they see the success of Wi-Fi. And they see this as the next frontier of innovation within their particular country.
Well, there's absolutely logic to that as far as your comment regarding the success of Wi-Fi. Your average Joe understands it, gets it, doesn't need to understand the underlying technology.
That's
just
right. Understand
that, hey, I can plug in a router, or I can connect my laptop or my iPad or whatever it may be. So absolutely makes a lot of sense there. Ivan, Darren, thanks for joining me on today's program.
Thank
It's
you
been a pleasure.
very much. Have a great day.
Have a nice day.
Video coverage of IT Expo is brought to you by Content Boost, the content marketing specialists. Amplify your sales today.